Hello, welcome to another episode of Life in Business, and this one is a bit of an unusual one. So, as ever, I'm Libby Langley, and I'm joined by a special guest today. Now, I never, ever have guests on my podcast, so this is a huge deal for me. But the reason I've got a guest today is because I think it's kind of important to talk about the other side of business sometimes, because we're all in this together. We have partners, we have friends, we have family who don't necessarily understand what the hell it is that we do all the time. So I've brought someone in to share their experience, and introducing my husband, John.
Hi.
Say hi, John.
Hello, everybody.
Near the microphone.
Hello, everybody.
So John is here, and John is really keen to do this, aren't you, John?
Absolutely.
And this is also going out on our wedding anniversary. So the 29th of February, we got married 4 years ago. You were a bit close there to the screen. 4 years ago, we got married. So this is like an anniversary special. So here, you get to see us today together, hear us together. So what's it like being married to an entrepreneur, John? What's it like? What's the good and what's the bad? And we haven't prepped for this at all, right? John has no idea what I'm gonna be asking him.
I think it's going to become apparent pretty quickly that we haven't rehearsed this.
We haven't rehearsed it.
What's it like? Well, I think
the good and the bad.
Yeah, I think that coming from a more, I guess, corporate 9-to-5 background, which my career has been built upon, it's more 24/7, I think, with yourself. So work, whilst it does obviously end and has a lot of flexibility in terms of your time and what you can do and what we can do as a partnership, it's also very prevalent in everything that we do.
So it never stops. Is that because the work never stops, or is that because my brain never stops thinking about it?
Well, both really. I think opportunities abound for you in different times and spaces to again, the corporate world. I work in a structured time zone where we start work in the morning and we finish late afternoon or early evening, and we're kind of bound by that and always have been. Okay. Your client base is really wide and varied in terms of their work patterns, and I think we often comment on the second that you wake up, you're working now. Yeah. Now that's not that's not working in that you're straight up and unhealthily in front of your desk.
No, and it's
on
also
the phone.
not at 5 a.m. I just would like to clarify that. When I wake up, this might be 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not. But if it's 7 o'clock, then no, that's really true. So I'll pick up my phone and I'll work from the bed for a while to start with, which could be responding to messages, which could be answering emails. And I guess I kind of feel I do that because then I feel I'm ready for the day, like I've dealt with the stuff. But yeah, I suppose that is, or creating content, I do a lot of that first thing in the morning from bed. So I guess, that is very different.
So it's kind of with us quite a bit, I guess. But, enjoyably so, because it's a massive part of what we strive for, and it's a huge contributor to our lifestyle and the things that we want to do. So it's what you do. It's what you do, and I do what I do, and I guess we work around that. I think that we found a blend in our jobs that works for us. Of course it could be better, but
So in a couple of words then, what's the good and what's the bad?
The good in 2 words.
A couple of words, yeah. Just quick fire. Let's do a quick fire round.
No, I think the good is that it's. I think the good is that from your perspective, you can really be responsive and be in control of your time, and also of your clients and what they need. I think the bad is, it is potentially all encompassing.
Okay. And do you think, first of all, how does that impact you? And then do you think that my neurodiversity makes that more so, right? So how does that impact you? The fact that it is all encompassing, and it's pretty much all I talk about and think about. I'm a bit obsessed with my business and other people's businesses.
It does. I don't know. Look, it's again the blend between us, because I guess there's two things for me. Is number one is that you are happy and rewarded. I was going to say spiritually. Then I don't mean spiritually, but in that kind
but that kind of emotional.
that you are getting what you need from what you're doing. And I think it's fair to say that we've gone through periods where you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important you do. And obviously clearly that we're able to maintain a lifestyle and a future that we want to. So that's me coming back down to the sort of like the basicness of
the reason for doing it.
Yeah,
right?
The reason for doing it. But I think I work to live. You certainly work to live, but I think there is a lot more reward you get from what you do, and I think that's the same for a lot of the people that you talk to. I think a lot of the conversations I hear you having with your clients and some of the peers that you speak to, and even some of your, I guess in my terminology I would call them suppliers, but some of the people that you reach out to for development yourself.
Yeah.
You're more you're more invested in it. I've got a lot of passion about what I do, and I've got a lot of passion about the people that I work with, and clearly want it to be a success, but it's probably more tactile than kind of emotional in that sense.
So I'll come back to the other.
I've just seen them rocking forward like some sort of
what's wrong with
paranoid
you?
lunatic.
It's the kind of thing I do. Don't call me a paranoid lunatic. I'm allowed to. I'm autistic. I can sit and rock if I want to. So when the times are bad, right? And I talk really openly and honestly on this podcast about the bad times that there have been. How does that impact you? Have the kind of knock-on effect versus the good times, and how did the good times impact you? As in business being, because like you say, when us business owners and everybody listening to this podcast is, for the majority, apart from our friend Colin, get a little name check, Colin, is a business owner. So people will identify with what you're saying, but it's kind of bringing the other side to it. How do you support? How do you feel you need to support, or how do you support? We support each other in it, but the bad times and then the good times.
I'll give you a 2-word answer for the good times and the bad times.
Oh, a 2-word answer. I like that. So actual quick fire.
Yes, sleep quality. I think is the quickest way that I can sum it up. I think that when things are challenging for you, as they would be for me, it becomes obviously something that if it's prevalent with us 24/7 as a thing, as a role that you do, when things are bad, it's with us 24/7.
Yeah, okay. And the bad time, the good times then.
Well, the good times, it's not. It does add to quality, but it takes up less. It takes up less, mental headspace.
Bandwidth. That's your favourite word.
Is my favourite word, because we're all lighter. Yeah. We're all more positive. We're not worrying about things. I guess the trick is not to become, unconscious to how in control you need to be of the good times, and how it's a continuous you know, it's a continuous road that we're on and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah. So no, that's fine. That's enough on that. Just bring it back to another topic. And so, going to keep it spicy for a podcast. What has changed since my diagnosis? So people listening to this may or may not know that. When was it? Was it April?
Yeah,
April,
May.
April 2023. I was diagnosed as autistic, having been suspecting that I had ADHD for a couple of years. So you know, I've got the full gambit there, and that was obviously had a huge impact on us personally, and as well as me professionally. But what do you think has changed within the business, or in the way that I interact with the business and with my business community since that diagnosis?
Well, all I can give you is a view and an opinion.
Well, that's literally what I've asked you for, so that's lucky.
Before I state any facts, because and this probably proves that this has not been rehearsed. Genuinely, I think in terms of your language and your skills and your capability and your professional approach to everything, it hasn't outwardly changed. You've still got the same skills and knowledge that you had before the diagnosis. The sort of development and the coaching and the stuff that you impart with your clients is, generally speaking, still coming from the same source. I think what has changed is your understanding of yourself. I think it's given you a better understanding of other dimensions of not only yourself but of clients and other people. And you know, again, I think giving you more, certainly more insight that's become valuable for you and invaluable for the people that you work with.
Yeah,
I think you know, I hear it resonating with a lot of people. I think it's been a very, for us, and I think for you professionally as well, it's been a very positive step that we took. We've not looked back since the diagnosis. I don't even give it a second thought, to be honest with you. It's been nothing but a positive. You know,
apart from when we fully embrace it, and either I'm having a total meltdown because the train's been cancelled, or we find ourselves in Manchester looking for flats.
Yeah, there are still there are,
depending on whether the autism or the ADHD is stronger that day.
There are still the odd hurdles that we just have to leapfrog over, but we get over them.
Sure,
we get over them.
Okay, it's really good to have that feedback, and I think you're right. And certainly clients have said to me that the fact that I talk about this and talk about my neurodiversity, my kind of journey with it, has enabled them to give them more confidence to come and work with me, because they know that I get it, you know, and I understand it, and I have my own struggles with it and my own support mechanism with it, and that means that I can help much more really, if that's the word, than if I wasn't living it too. And I mean, I'm proof that it doesn't need to be a barrier, right? I mean, we have struggles, we have things that we have to deal with, but fundamentally, I've just created the business that works around the way that I am, because I'm not going to change the way that I am, and nor should I want to. So no, that's nice. That's a nice thing to say though, babe.
So, you know, I've got a few of those little things.
I'm hoping that you're going to drop a real gem and everyone's going to start crying about how in love we are. That's what I'm hoping. But, you know, I'll not hold my breath. We'll see. But it is our wedding anniversary today when this goes out, don't forget. So, yeah. So,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So, okay, what have you learnt about business since we've been together? What have you learnt from either watching how I work or listening to things I say to clients or conversations that we had? How has being married to me and being in my life for, you know, the last 7 years, which has obviously been the greatest 7 years of your life, how has that impacted your own business acumen?
Okay, well, I just grimaced, which wouldn't look
good.
Grimace. It wouldn't look good, would it? I think we are, as we should be, our own individuals. We are We are completely
And please
different.
don't say not in any way, shape or form, because that would be a really rubbish answer for this podcast.
No, I wasn't.
I'm hoping you don't say
I
that.
know I wasn't going to say that, but what I was going to say is, or what I am going to say, is that clearly we both have roles on a daily basis that are about engaging with people in different ways, and we both go about it in in our own way, with our own skill base and our own capability. And I think what I've seen from yourself is that you have the ability to invest again, kind of emotionally and personally with your client base, because that's where you are. They are the you're not talking to sort of big corporates. You're not talking to structures. You're talking to people who are themselves obviously massively invested in what they're doing. And I think that plays to your strengths massively.
So what? No, but the question was, what have you learned about business?
No. And what I see with that is that continuation of particularly what I do, I guess, from a consulting background. My consulting background was based very much on the propositions and all that sort of stuff that I have as working for a company, as opposed to me as an individual. And I think now I've got a better understanding of my own value and my own self-worth in terms of those interactions that I have with people. I think there's other things I can say which will come across more negative, that you're less impatient than I am, or you're less patient.
I'm less impatient.
No, you're less patient. There we go.
Yeah, no, I'm very impulsive.
And I'm I'm
That's
far
not negative.
I'm far more likely
Makes
to
me
take.
more flexible and adaptable.
I'm far more likely to take my customers on a hospitality event, for example, than you would.
Yeah, that's because you've got someone else paying for it. I'm responsible for my own profit margin, so I would rather spend my profit on us, babe,
Okay.
not on taking someone to some football match or
Let's not fall out on our anniversary, please, in front of the people.
in front of the public. So, okay, so what? I guess something that's really new to you is the kind of self-development world, that almost like that you mentioned spiritual before, but almost that kind of self-awareness, self-development world, because working in construction, as you have done for all those years, or the broader construction industry, it's not a big thing, right? Generally speaking. So very much in my world, there's a lot of female mentors I follow. I go to a lot of events that are about being your best self in the broader sense of the word. There's a lot about mindset. There's a lot about belief in yourself and confidence, and obviously that's all stuff that I work with my clients on too. So how's that kind of world? How do you feel about that? Because I know I talk about stuff, and all the mentors that I talk about and the people that I follow, and you've listened to some of their podcasts, and you see the books by the side of the bed and all of these things. So what of that has soaked in for you? Or how has it changed your thinking? Has it made you more self-aware? Because we talk about this stuff a lot. We talk about how we feel about things all the time.
Well, I guess from my perspective, I'm far more, I guess, in touch with your world, and I guess more fond of it to a certain extent than the world I'm in, because it's much more personable.
Yeah.
It is much more sort of emotional, I guess, in that sense. And unfortunately, I guess the kind of I keep saying corporate, but the kind of the structured world with which I'm in, is, we both know, has got some very archaic cultures and cultures and
it's
practices,
very male dominated,
which is frustrating. But that's certainly not, and that's not me sort of as a fringe fringe idiot in it who's got sort of very woo and all that sort of stuff, and
No,
everybody isn't.
you also want
I'm
to
not,
smash the patriarchy, though, don't you?
I'm not. You know, there's certainly, you know, there's certainly a lot of opportunity to change the world with which I'm in, but not at the kind of pace with where you are, and you know, again, some of your mentors. And you know, we think differently about them. You know, we're certainly not going to name any names here and all that sort of stuff. But you know, some of the, you know, I'm not completely agreeable with all the messages that you listen to. But then you don't like some of my music, so you know, it's horses for courses.
There's kind of a happy medium. But you are coming to this year. You are coming to 2 events. We're going to see Stephen Bartlett speak. So I mean, I name names.
You do name names.
I name names. We're going, and I'm not a massive fan of his, like, at all. Yeah, I don't even know if you know who he is.
Of course I do.
Oh, okay. But I'm not a huge fan of his, and there's been some stuff come to light recently that's like, that's not cool. But we're going to go because he's speaking not far away from us, and actually I think it'll be quite an interesting event. It's just an evening talk. And then you're also coming to a full immersive weekend event in October, Susie Ashworth's event. Now, I'm in Susie Ashworth's program. I find that's quite spiritual, which is, you know, further that way than I would ever go normally. But it's about, I understand that I need to be in the right room to up-level myself enough. And you're coming to that. And the last event, there were 100 odd people there, and maybe like a handful of men. So it's quite brave and bold to do that. But how do you feel about that? About like immersing yourself in the stuff that I do and the stuff that I go to?
Well, I want.
Or should I ask you after we've been?
Well, no, maybe you should do. I mean, there is 2 answers to it. I think coming back to where we started, that what you do in terms of our relationship and our lifestyle is it's woven into the fabric, because you know there isn't a plan B. I mean, obviously there's always a plan
B.
Well,
you're always on about a plan B.
But this is what, you know, this is what you do, and it is actually an integral part of who we are, what we can achieve, our ambitions, all that sort of stuff. Whereas, you know, I've got a job.
Yeah.
And whilst I really love my job, I love my colleagues, I love my employers.
I don't know if they're listening, babe. It's
no, it's all right. You know, I didn't have my fingers.
Best job I've ever.
I didn't have my fingers crossed or anything. Whilst you know, there's always a plan, potential B, if it goes horribly wrong for me. Whereas yours is woven into it. So being part of doing things like this, listening to the podcast. Sitting there wanting to watch a program at television at night, and you pause it because hang on a minute, I've got to do this quick voice note or something like that, has just become the norm. So, you know, experiencing some of these other elements to you and your development is important to me. I think that there's 2 other things to it. Is that number one, I then also get to understand the value of how you're weighting these things in your life and in your business and in your development. Obviously, I think I'm there as counsel as well, in terms of, you know, if you're gonna invest, you know, is it good investment for your development and all that sort of stuff. And then ultimately, if there is absolutely nothing in for me, there is usually a bar just down the road where I can go and have a drink and let you enjoy yourself.
That's another big difference between us, because you're the drinker and I'm not the drinker. But something that you said then actually made me think of something. And I think the main difference between having a job and having a business is community. Now, you have colleagues, right? And you work with them, you talk to them at work, you may or may not get on with them, but you know, you have to just rub along together at work. But I have this huge network of people who are also in business, and some have become extremely good friends. But when you say about, you know, I've got to pause the program so I can send this voice note or something, it's not to my clients, because boundaries, you know, I client work I don't do in the evenings, but this is to my This is to my peers. This is to supporting people, cheering people on, maybe commenting on a LinkedIn post or sending a message or something to people. And that's huge within the business community. And it's one of my favourite things about it, actually. So that's a phenomenal difference between having a job and being part of something bigger, as I kind of like to think about it. So that's good. That's a really good answer. So, okay, we're coming to the end of it. So I guess what's been the most surprising thing about you being married to an entrepreneur? And I'm going to ask you a very self-indulgent question, but we don't have long left, so you have to keep that one short, even though I'd love you to go on about it for ages. What's the thing that you're most proud of with me?
I mean, well, I should, if this was scripted and all that sort of stuff, I'd be saying that the difference that you make to other people's lives and all that sort of stuff. I think that is absolutely.
You can just say that.
No, that is in there, but I don't really know. I don't really get to see or really hear those people. I don't see it. So with what I do, for example, with what I do, there's always an end result. So that at some point we could potentially go and sit and have a meal in the building, for example. I'd love to say that the difference that you make to people's lives. However, I absolutely know it is the difference you make to people's lives because of the success that you have. And if you weren't making the difference to people's lives, then you wouldn't be making them. You wouldn't be successful yourself. So yes, no. I mean that's without a shadow of a doubt is way up there on the proudometer.
Can you not think of anything better than that?
Is that not good enough?
No, when can you not say your determination, your focus, your drive?
But that's a given. I think that's the
It's not a given for people listening to this podcast.
No, I don't.
Oh my God, what's a girl got to do to get a compliment around here?
I don't think that's necessarily that's all a given, I think. And I think the people that are listening to this podcast, to be honest with you, my darling, they probably know you've got that in abundance already. And if you have tuned into this podcast for the first time...
Oh my God, what are you taking over?
No, you've just demonstrated that you've got that in abundance.
Yeah. No, well, it's nice. I mean, and if this is the first one that you have listened to, then hi, welcome. Thanks for coming along. Don't have guests ever, but yeah, I wanted to get John on today just to kind of share, I don't know, the other side of it all and what it's really like and what it means to be in this environment surrounded by this kind of weird world of somebody making all the decisions that they could possibly ever want to make with no one to answer to, and how liberating and kind of freeing that is, but also the impact it can have on business. So 20 seconds of final thoughts, John?
Thank you very much for having me. Okay, I love you very much.
Oh, I love you too, babe.
And happy anniversary.
Thanks, everybody. And I will see you next week for a perfectly normal, just me talking episode. So look forward to seeing you then. So thanks ever so much. Say bye, John.
Toodle pip.
Bye. Toodle pip. Bye.